So I'll just give you a super quick intro to today's goal is to help us distill what happened last week at Ignite. So we're going to do rapid fire. Here's everything that happened at Ignite, following our friend Stephen Rose from Microsoft, from the Teams team, who's awesome, who was actually helping do the announcement. So it's a great pleasure to have you with us, Stephen.
Oh, I appreciate it. Always great to see everybody, and it was awesome being at Ignite last week and being back with folks in person. It was almost overwhelming at times because these are people I haven't seen in 2 to 3 years, and just getting together with them, seeing everybody catching up was really awesome. But it was an exhausting 2 days, and it was not like the Ignite of old. We got a lot of feedback. It's our first major hybrid event that we've done. So lots of things we're going to change and do differently. It won't probably look like this again in the future, and we're going to try to find that good middle ground. So I want to talk about the new announcements that happened at Ignite. But before I do, are there any Teams questions beyond the new stuff? And I'll jump into that. Are there any just questions that folks have on Teams or functionality or what's going on with what? I'm happy to answer that before I jump into my deck here, which I'm going to go ahead and hit present in Teams and bring that up and share that. And if there is, the moderators in the room will have to let me know.
We'll let you know when we see your screen. Coming momentarily.
Got it. Let me know when you guys can see that. Is it still loading?
He's flipping it over. He's doing some. He's got some fancy stuff going on. A little bit of OBS magic, I think.
Okay.
This part made us do full.
Okay.
You go, Ryan. Do your magic.
We can see your screen now.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to skip over all the marketing stuff, and I'm going to go right to the Ignite announcements. And after that, there's a lot of features. And I'll say this, we've had over 450 features released for Teams before Ignite. So in the past 12 months, from Ignite to Ignite, 450 features. And the one thing that I find, no matter who I talk to, if I'm sitting down with customers, they're like, hey, what's coming? And I'm like, I guarantee you there's a bunch of features you don't know that already exist. And sure enough, they'll ask about, hey, when will we be able to take the content in, a moment like this in PowerPoint and pop it out into a separate window? Already available. When is Loop coming? Loop is already available. So really dig in. I recommend the What's New in Teams blog on Tech Community. That comes out the first week of every month, and it covers everything that was released the previous month. And some months like April, we had 33 features. So go back through that before you ask, when is this coming? Really take a look and see what we already have out. But let's take a look at our big announcements at Ignite. So Teams chats in Outlook. So you are going to be able to, at least starting with the web version, be able to see all of your Teams chats in Outlook. They'll be able to pop up at the bottom. You'll be able to respond to those without having to switch back over to Teams. That will certainly make it much easier to, before you send an email or before you do something, or if you're one of those people who are still working a lot in Outlook, you'll be able to see that right there, as well as what you can already do today, which is start a Teams call with someone. So we'll see that in there, which is great. And then, of course, you can always click on anything and jump right into the meeting, or right from there, join that chat for a meeting that's coming up and be able to take a look at that. So, and these are all features that are going to hit insiders within the next 90 days. If you're on a GA tenant, that's normally 90 to 3 to 6 months. And if you're GCC or beyond that, it could take even longer. So just be aware. Work hours and location, hybrid presence. You are, again, going to be able to go into Outlook. No, that will not be coming to Outlook desktop just yet. That will be coming to, it should come to Outlook desktop in the future, but right now that's just Outlook web. So good question. Same for work hours and location presence. This will come to desktop with the new version of Outlook that has started rolling out. And basically what we have here is you'll be able to pick and choose your schedule each week for what days you're at home and what days you're in the office. This will really help people if they're looking to book time or picking a day to come into the office. They can take a look and see which days you're going to be in the office each week and which days you're not, so they can optimize for, oh, I really want to meet with Joel, so I'm going to pick a day when I know he's in the office and I'm going to, schedule a meeting or whatever. And you can change that on a day by day or week by week basis. But it's a really great way if there is, hey, every Thursday I'm in the office because we have a team meeting. So let other folks know so you can optimize for that. And that's really critical. So that's another feature that will be coming to Outlook. New channel experience. So we have a brand new channel experience that we started rolling out to teams. Again, this is now available for insiders. So the first thing you're going to see is for each channel, you're going to see the message bar up at the top of the screen, not down at the bottom. And this is going to, really allow you to say, hey, I have a post announcement. We can now drop in video clips, questions, etc. So you can still, of course, respond to folks the way that you did. But if you're going to start a new thread, it really makes sense to do it at the top of the screen where it's going to show up, not at the bottom. You can, of course, also now pop out Teams chats. So that's something new that a lot of folks have asked for. We can do it with a chat. Is there a way to do it with a channel conversation? You'll now be able to pin those or pop those out. You'll also be able to customize the header at the top of each team. And it can match your SharePoint site if you have a SharePoint site behind it, or it can be unique, and this will, of course, modify the SharePoint site on the back end. So this is our new channels experience called Channels 2.0. This will start to roll out to insiders in the next few weeks. So that is another feature coming to Teams. I'm going to pause and see if there's any questions. Doesn't sound like there is. There's none online, so I think we're good. Suggested replies and expanded reactions. One of the things that folks really seem to love is, when you're going to respond to somebody, that here's probably the 3 most common phrases that you're going to use to do that, as well as, sorry, I had a really early start. I've been on call since 6 a.m. today. As well as reactions that may make sense for what folks are saying. So again, rather than having to search, hey, that's great, I'll follow up with you, I'll schedule a meeting, etc. Just a little more intelligence to make things a little faster as you move through your day. Video clip is another feature that we announced, and that will also be rolling out to users. So basically, you'll be able to go down, click on the video, and you can record a video for an individual, for yourself, or for a team. Rather than writing something, you can say, hey, real quick, I just want to thank everybody for their time and working on this, and just drop that right in without having to record or edit. So right there in the channel. And sometimes that can really add a personalized aspect and can really make a difference in how people react to what it is that you're talking about. So think about how this can create a more personal contact and how it can help you to better connect with people. So fun stuff there. And a scheduled send, I love this. We can do this today in Outlook, but we haven't been able to do it in Teams. We often have people that work at dramatically different hours. So sending them a message at 1 in the morning, if they wake up at 7, it's going to force them to feel like you're waiting and you've been standing around, et cetera. And for email, you're going to want to send it during their working hours. And this allows you to do the same. This says, hey, don't send this till 8:30 a.m. in the morning, so that you can actually pick when to send that, have a best time, or you can schedule it. And that way, that will hit the team, that will hit the group, or that will hit that person at that specific hour to make that a little bit more time sensitive when you're working with people who are remote in other countries. For those of you familiar with PowerPoint Live, which is what we're using right now, and I cannot stress the values of using PowerPoint Live and not doing full screen share. For those of you who are still doing full screen share for PowerPoints, stop. Please don't do that anymore. Just so you're aware, PowerPoint Live uses only 20% of the bandwidth that doing a full screen share would do. Why? Because you're not redrawing 1098 by 1086 pixels, but you're only redrawing, only the pixels that change on the screen. You have the ability to do a private view so people can't move forward. You can see all your notes. You can see all the reactions, all the cameras, all of your slides. I can also go in and I can highlight on the slides while I'm presenting. I can use a red marker and circle my big old head. I can even use a laser pointer to perhaps point where I would like somebody to look right there, and that will go away after a few seconds, and I can even erase some of these different aspects. So the control is not only excellent, but you're going to have a much better experience for yourself and for all the people online. The other thing that I love too is if there is a URL in there, a link, you can actually click that link as a end user viewing that presentation and go right to that link. Excel Live, just like PowerPoint Live, will put up a share just like this, but you can actually edit the page, redistribute the page, move things around, change the order of columns without affecting the original document. So it lets everybody view an Excel spreadsheet the way that they would like to without affecting the original. So it's great. We also have Live Sign from Adobe, and we'll see Live coming to some of our other products as well. So that is Excel Live. The only key to making that work is the files must be stored in OneDrive. Once they're stored in OneDrive and you're going to do a presentation, you'll just go up to your PowerPoint, do present in Teams during a Teams meeting, and it will show up and share just like this, exactly as you are seeing right now with that same experience. So pretty cool stuff. Collaboration and annotations is another feature. So here we will do a screen share. We'll come down and we'll say we can start annotation. So we can have everybody draw on a screen, on a whiteboard, on a JPEG, whatever you want. But whatever it is that you're sharing, you can have people collaborate and share right there on the screen in real time. So kind of what we've been able to do on Surface Hub, we're bringing that to all the devices, including iPad and things along that line. And then mesh avatars for Teams. You know what? I'll show you mesh avatar. So rather than talk about it, when I'm done going through all the new stuff, I'll actually turn on my mesh avatar and let you see what it looks like. But it's nice. I haven't found a ton of great uses for it. The biggest one I've seen so far is there are school districts in the United States that do not allow children under the age of 18 to have their cameras on while doing in-school learning. It's a privacy thing. This would allow those students to turn on the avatar and to be seen as an avatar, which shows that they're there and present, but without revealing where they are or being able to take a look at their room or things along that line. So it does provide privacy. It also equalizes out everybody. And for those folks that are shy or don't feel like turning on their camera, but they do want to engage, that becomes a great way to do it. So what I'll do is I'm going to go up here and let's see, I'll go to avatars. And again, if you're on Insider, you're going to start to see this soon if you haven't already. So I will fly my avatar. So let's see, you should see that coming up here in a moment. Up in the corner, we'll give it a second to do its thing. It's applying it. A little bit longer when you're doing PowerPoint Live because we're doing a lot of bandwidth right now. There we go. So you can see me. There I am. I'm up in the top. You can see me talking. I can say, hey, I'm so confused, or I can do a nice double hand wave, or say, hey, I just had an idea or a thought, or I could face palm myself. And my favorite, I can also do a flushed. I like the flush. The flush cracks me up. So I can say, I appreciate you all, or I can say, you know what, I'm not going to do that, or have some tears of joy. Tears of joy. Or I'm thinking, I can say, where is everybody? Look around. I can have different backgrounds. I can do a big yawn. So that is, that's kind of what avatars look like and how that comes together. And I can, of course, just say I'm done with that. And I'm going to shut that off and go back to my video, but that's avatar, and you can create one that looks like you. People tell me I've done a good job in making my avatar look like me, so that's nice, but that is mesh avatars for Teams and how that works. I'm going to bring chat back up in case there's questions. Let's chat about the next one, which is Microsoft Teams Premium. Now, this is a new add-on that has been announced for Microsoft Teams. It doesn't matter if you have E3 or E5, you're not going to get this. This is an add-on. We have not removed any features from Teams. We are just planning to add new features, and these are not features that everyone will need, which is why we've made it an add-on. We don't want to have to, raise the price on the product and have a feature that only a few people are using, or not everybody has found the value in it at this time. So let's break it down. There's really three areas. There's ways and ability, and there are ways and new options for you to be able to personalize content along with webinars and live events and things along that line. There are some new intelligence features and some new security features. So this will affect things like meetings, virtual appointments, webinars, etc. So let's take a look. Our first one is intelligent recap. Now, I really love this feature. If you are recording a meeting, when that's done, that video will be there inside the team for everybody to take a look at. If you double click it, you'll be able to open it up and not only see the recording, but you can also see a transcript. And you can type in a word or your name and be taken to every point in the transcript and the video where that came up. So if you miss a meeting, you can go through and type in the name of the project, type in your name, and see every time during the meeting that was done. Now that's great, but if you're someone like me who often has 3 or 4 meetings scheduled at the same time, something like an intelligent recap is great. So here's what intelligent recap looks like. Whoops, sorry, I didn't mean to hit that so quickly. Let's try that again. All right, intelligent recap. So what is going to happen is there'll be a recording of a meeting, and that's pretty normal. I'll be able to go to view meeting notes, and what it will do is it will show me the recording, show me the transcript. If there were any tasks that were made during the meeting, those are going to show up. If somebody mentions my name and says, hey, Stephen, make sure that you follow up on this, I can go ahead and accept those or assign those as tasks. So I can assign people tasks, I can have tasks, I can see the full transcript, I can see the recording, I can see all the key areas. So it will break the meeting down into chapters, and it will look at these different areas, different slides, and tell you what each of these different areas were about, roughly. So it'll create a topic based on that, often from the slide titles. I can go right to that. I can see who was talking at that point and what they were talking about. So intelligent recap is great if you need to miss several meetings or you're going on vacation. You'll have that ability to not just search for certain people and what they're saying, but to have an automated version of AI doing this for you and sending that right to you directly, making it much easier for you to get caught up. So that's intelligent recap. Again, this will be a feature of Teams Premium. Advanced webinars. What we're doing here for advanced webinars is you'll be able to have not only multiple speakers up at a time and better and new ways to manage content, but when you go to create your webinar, you'll be able to brand it and add branding options, which includes the emails that go out, and you can take a look at form and how people answered. So you're going to get more information back on who was there, what they thought, if they filled out forms. You'll be able to go back and see all the questions. So a lot more control during the meeting and after the meeting if you're doing webinars and if you're doing live events. More intelligence, more features, more opportunities to brand what it is that you're working on. For personalized meetings, you will be able to put together what they call meeting guides. So here I can call something called Client Call. This is an IT Pro feature. I can then go in and say that every IT Pro call has a template. And what's great then, if I am a IT pro, I would go to meeting call, say this is a client call or whatever, and it will automatically add what the sensitivity is, if people can have cameras on, not have cameras on, if it's going to include the content. We'll see later. You can even add a watermark to that. You can say no one admitted in that was not directly invited to the meeting, or each person needs to be brought in personally in doing that. So you can create templates for every type of meeting or by group, and when they go to create any type of meeting, it will follow those. That can include external sharing, a blocking of that, all the things that generally folks want to do and would do on a meeting by meeting basis. You'll be able to templatize that. Advanced virtual appointments, what we have here is this will enable organizations to do B2C engagements, such as sales and customer service calls, things along that line. So you'll be able to do things like a virtual appointment app, simplified queue view. You can create a custom waiting experience for those folks. You'll get department and organization level analytics like key metrics, no-shows, wait times, SMS reminders, mobile browser join. So this is great if you're, let's say, in telehealth or things along that line. This is really going to help you to better not only manage your experience, but the customer experience that you would run into as well. Secure meetings, I love this feature. Secure meetings is pretty cool. So what we've done is when meetings are set up as secure meetings, and again, this can be part of that template or say anything that is highly confidential, internal only or internal NDA external, et cetera, we'll go ahead and we'll make that choice. And you're going to see that some options are now locked, so people cannot bypass the lobby. It will add a unique watermark to that meeting. So if anybody grabs a screenshot or tries to take a picture with their phone, it will show that. It will verify the end-to-end encryption code. It will show that this is an internal meeting only, and only people within the company can join. The meeting cannot be forwarded to people external, et cetera. So think of this sort of like a locked door or a locked meeting room. This allows you to do that considerably more securely. So those were our biggest announcements that we made at Ignite for features that are going to be rolling out in the next 90 days. We will see Teams Premium will be coming to a preview in December for some folks, and the rest of you in the spring will be able to sign up for a 90-day preview of that and be able to play with it before deciding if you want to add it on. It is a per seat license, so you can you don't have to do it for the whole company. You can only do it for the people that matter, maybe HR or engineering or your management. And it not all the people who are attending the meetings need to have that license. It's only for the people who are going to create it. So if I have Teams Premium and I create a secure meeting with the watermark and everything else, I can invite people that do not have the Teams Premium license, and they will still see all of that, but they cannot set up a meeting with those features and those functionalities. So it's based on who has the license and who's setting that up. So I'm going to stop there for questions because that's a lot, and we haven't even talked about some of the new Teams rooms and MTR features and things like that that were announced. We announced that we're going to be supporting a variety of Cisco devices in our Microsoft Teams meeting rooms. We have a list of those in the blog. We announced we brought some new frontline and calling features, and we have streamlined our call center application and our call deployment applications to make it easier to roll that out for folks. So let's turn the camera back on the room and we'll answer some questions. And it can be anything on Teams, not just the announcements at Ignite. I see a few people are typing in some questions, which is great. So we will do that.
I have a question.
Awesome. I can, although I may have to have somebody repeat it, but go ahead.
When you were doing the avatar, was it mimicking your movements or those pre-programmed movements?
Those are pre-programmed movements, so it will track your face. So if you're moving your head around and your lips, it will do that. But there's about 40 different movements that are in there, and you can just click the button and it will do those. I'm not actually flushing or waving my hands. I don't need to. But it will follow my head nods and the way that I'm looking, and it will track my lips. But beyond that, you can just pick those like you would pick an emoji, and it will go ahead and do that as part of the meeting. So it's kind of fun, and it is a way to show that people are paying attention and engaged in doing that. So, yep. So that's the meeting avatar piece. And you can design your own. It's pretty cool.
It's kind of like emojis.
Sorry?
Kind of like emojis, live emojis.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's great. And there's some people who go, I just can't be seen on camera today. You know, I'm not feeling well, whatever. And now they can come in and show up with their meeting avatar and still be engaged and still do all that. So there are some great scenarios for it. I'm curious to see how we continue to build upon this and do more as we start to look at virtual events and virtual meetings taking place in virtual VR spaces. So this will be the next thing to lead into that. So, yeah. Other questions? Yeah, go for it.
On the virtual meetings for the Teams Premium license, is there an integration there with bookings at all, or is it completely separate?
Bookings is separate. That's more of a frontline worker app where people can go online and book time with you. But this does, if you are doing a webinar or a live event, be able to have folks that are answering questions where they can say, hey, I have questions about our webinar. Click here. We can see who's in the queue. We can talk to those folks. We can track them. But no, it's different than Bookings, the Bookings app, which is specifically made for people to be able to either book you externally, or it's now also available personally. So for example, at the bottom of my Outlook signature, I have book time with me, and that's free. And that allows people to see when I'm free and to do exactly that, to be able to book time with me. And that's an exchange feature, and that one's free. So a little different than our Bookings app, which is more meant for, here's the shifts, here's when everybody's working. It's going to integrate into phone. That also allows people to trade shifts. Hi, I was going to work here without having to have a manager get engaged. Things along that line. So think of that also integrated with time card and things along that line. So a little bit different. Good question though. Other questions on current features, things like Loop. Loop is really cool. We're seeing a lot of great stuff on Loop and the ability to take Loop elements now and drop those into Outlook, which is really cool. Everybody familiar with Loop, playing with Loop?
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, if you take a look at Teams, down at the bottom, we don't have it for this meeting because I'm not part of the tenant, but if you look down, you should see what looks like a little zero icon, and if you click it, you'll see Loop element, and it will come up and say agenda, etc. What's cool is you can start a live chat with someone else, and what's great is as you're collaborating in this Loop element, each of you typing different things, you can take and copy and paste that, let's say, into an email. And when you send that email off, if that person adds something to Loop element through Outlook, it's going to show up on everybody's Loop element, whether it's part of a team chat, whether it's in PowerPoint, Outlook, in a Loop space. So that's the whole idea, is real-time collaboration and people working together. Where the data is always live and always up to date, no matter what you're doing. We'll be releasing the ability to drop that into PowerPoint, and that's going to be really huge for a lot of people. So it's a super cool feature and something I really encourage you to take a look at because it's pretty hip. Other questions? Anything from our folks online? We have a bunch of folks online. And like I said, ask anything. I have a lot of questions on features that have come out a while ago, and people are like, hi, what's going on with this? And I'm like, oh, it's currently available, and here it is, and you can check it out. So,
when are you gonna add dial plans to policy packages?
I'm sorry, one more time?
When are you gonna add dial plans to policy packages? That drives me nuts.
I can't hear the question. So someone a little closer to the mic could repeat it. It's good. It's breaking up a little bit.
So when are you going to add dial plans to policy packages?
Dial plans? What do you mean by a style plan?
Dial.
Dial plan for direct routing.
As
Oh,
in phone
dial
call.
plans. Dial plans, yes. I think that's on the roadmap. I think if it hasn't been released, it's going to be released soon. Let me take a look. Hang on. Let me go to roadmap and take a look. And anybody can do this if you go to hang on. Let's see. M365. Come on. Roadmap. Go Microsoft.com/Microsoft-365/roadmap. Let's see. That is dial plan. I am looking and seeing what I can find. So hang on. It may be under a different name, so I'll have to take a look, because when I type in dial plans for Teams, nothing comes up. So, but I'll take a look. But I'll put the link in chat, and you can go in and you can take a look. And this is what is being planned and what is currently available. And you can look at this for all of our products across Microsoft 365. So this is a super helpful link. So hang on. Wow, that was weird. Let's try that again. There we go. Okay. Copy. Try to paste again. Paste. There we go. All right. So the link is there in the chat. You can go there. You can check out our roadmap. You can see what's been released, how long ago, release notes, what's coming, etc. And you can filter that by product, which is great. Or that'll cover all of the Office products and Teams, Viva, etc. It will cover all of those. Awesome. Other questions, tips, tricks, ways to do things better, issues you're having, driving adoption, when best practices around using Teams.
One question about exporting posts from Teams channels. In bulk. So I work in a law firm, and we consider that this chat is part of when we work on matters, it's part of the deal, and we need the ability to communicate that information. And so right now, what I have available, I can use the Microsoft Graph to export those individual posts, or I have a menu that allows me to send a thread by email. But what I'm trying to get is all the threads in Team.
Yeah, there's no plans at this point to export all the threads from Outlook, just because once they're in Teams, they are secure, they're encrypted, etc. That if somebody were to export that and put that, let's say, into a text document, it might not be supported by all of the encryption protocols that we have in place, because all of our content is encrypted at rest and in motion. It also might become, for some people, a way to get around some of the ability to hold and secure data for up to whatever the years are necessary. So it's not something we're doing at this time. Yes, you can take any Teams chat and you can forward it to email, but again, that's following the same DLP and AIP security. But as of now, we do not have a way for you to take all of those chats and to export them into an outside document. But it's a good thing to understand, and I'll pass it on to engineering. That have we thought about it as part of legal discovery? So that is good to know. Awesome, great question. Thank you.
You can find that through compliance in the admin portal and export those conversations.
Yeah, you can export the conversation, but you can't do every thread and every chat inside of a team at this point.
Yeah, you can select a different user.
And the challenge, the challenge is to rebuild the thread. So
yeah,
you need the post, but you need the images as well that might be somewhere else, and the screenshots, and then the replies. And that's easy to do with the email, but one at a time.
Yeah. Well, you also have all the metadata attached to that chat. So while it's in Teams, you can actually go in and see exactly when that was typed, when that was put. If you export that, some of that data could be altered or changed, and it would be difficult to see. So that way, the integrity of the data, because it's in Teams, is always there and proof. That's why companies like Adobe can now do Acrobat Sign, where you can do live sign. I could put a document up on the screen, ask one of you to sign it, and all of that information about where you're at, IP address, all of that is being held and becomes part of that signature. So in a court of law, we can prove that you signed that, lease agreement online at this time, coming from this IP address attached to your email, et cetera. So that's one of the other things too, is to be able to have that trail for discovery and for security as well. But it's great feedback. And like I said, I'll bring it back to the engineering team. It may be a scenario that they don't fully understand or haven't really thought about, or maybe they have, and they have even more reasons on why this is that way. You're all always welcome to reach out to me via Stephen L. Rose. That's Stephen with a PH on Twitter. It's the best way to reach me. I got a ton of followers, but that's the best way. A big question, or you want to get a hold of me in the future through that, or of course through LinkedIn as well. Any other questions on features, things you're not seeing in Teams that you would like to see, a feature that we do not have at this point that you're like, hey, my life would get better if I could fill in the blank?
Question for you on Teams Premium.
Yeah.
So you had your nice slide that actually had everything. It sounds like a lot of stuff's being released throughout the year. Is there kind of like your MVP or what will be in it? Like if somebody wants to jump in as soon as it's available, what they can expect? So we can kind of sell it to the business, anticipating.
Yeah. Most of those features will be available on day one. So as soon as Teams Premium goes GA, not in preview, we'll roll some of those out during the preview period, a little bit at a time to get feedback, make sure it's working on everybody's device, things like that. But once we go GA in the spring, which I think is February or March, all of the features that I showed you will be available to those customers. So, and if you're Tap or Compass or one of those, you've probably already seen some of these features. We've already rolled some of these out to some of our very insider folks. So those are folks that will become part of Premium. So some of those we've already allowed people to play with and gotten functionality and gotten some data back on. But yeah, when we go live, all the features we spoke about are there, and there'll be more features that we'll be adding to Teams Premium in the future, but I don't have a roadmap on what that is at this point.
So one piece of feedback in terms of things I would love to see. Guests. It seems like it's something where you create a team, you add external guests, the ability to attest those guests. Security kind of freaks out that we're adding guests into AD and then they kind of just hang out. How do we, security is essentially saying we want a quarterly attestation of all guest accounts.
Yeah.
Any plans around governance of external sharing, external guests, as it relates to those M365 groups / teams?
Yeah, I think that there's 2 or 3 things. Number one, we're seeing more people use Teams Connect shared channels rather than actually giving that personal license, which just, unless they're a vendor that's going to be working with you and have some sort of company email address, you should be using Teams Connect shared channel. So if you're doing a project with someone externally that's going to last 3 months, you should create a Teams Connect shared channel. That way, all they can access is what's inside that channel. They can't get to anything else in the team. Everything is there. And when that project's done, that's shut down and those people no longer have access because you're using Azure Information Protection. So if they try to access something, that's if you have allowed them to download it. They won't have access to it anymore. And you can just make it read only. You can put things in, but you can't take stuff out. So that is the first part of that. The second part is you can set up, and we've done this inside of Microsoft, Power Apps that will go through and look at Teams creation. And once a year, for example, I'll get an email saying, hi, this team that you created a year ago, it's now been 1 year. If you would like to renew the expiration date for this team, go here, type it in. If not, this team will be deleted 90 days from now, 60 days from now, 30 days from now, 15, 5, deleted. So you can set up a Power App, and that's what we've done. And you could do that for groups, for teams, for certain types of chats, or even for external users, that after X period of time, it should shoot off an email template that is, connected to, to your internal AD or to your cloud AD. So, and that's how we've done it. And that's been very successful. The other thing we've seen is on the other side for Teams creation, we've had some companies that have built their own Power Apps that when you go to create a team, it will ask you, pick 5 of these 15 words that best describes the team and what you're trying to accomplish. And once you do, the next screen will tell you and show you all the teams that shares those same 5 words with. And we'll say, hey, can you leverage any one of these teams? And then if you say, no, I need my own, it'll say, okay, put in a reason, and IT will create it within 24 hours. What we saw is many companies like Lego saw a 70% reduction in the creation of duplicate teams and new teams. People half the time don't realize there's a team out there that will accomplish what they need. So doing that on the front end and setting up something on the back end will create a much better hygiene and ensure that what you're working with is there. We've also seen that when a project ends, you have to have 2 admins for every team, that they'll go ahead and archive it and say, this is now archived. And then that gets scheduled for Azure cold storage or being taken out of that team at a certain point in time as well. So those are all things that I've seen done that I think are really good ways, but I think it depends on your company, what you're trying to do and accomplish, and how you want to work. Cool. Other questions? Because we still have a little bit of time.
That reminds me of a question, that's searchability. And is there a way to surface descriptions in Teams? So I don't know, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but when I do a search, I cannot search the Teams descriptions, or I cannot see them easily in any of the regular requirements.
Let me, hang on, I'm going to grab something that will help you here. You should be able to, as long as it's, connected to Azure AD, but hang on. I'm going to grab something, and there's a really cool feature that a lot of folks are not aware of. So give me one moment. What I'm looking for.
When I said search, I was thinking about the search box in Teams or the search
Yeah.
box in SharePoint.
Nope, I get it. Huh. Okay. Let me share this. This is a presentation I just did a few weeks ago in Chicago. So hang on. So let me share this out. Some of these I talked about, so we'll go through it, and we have time, so we'll take a few moments. So let me show you this, and some of that search stuff is in here too. Right. This. Forward. So here's that whole present in Teams, and we can see that view and what that looks like. We talked about that, which is great. Shared channels, which we talked about. Microsoft Loop, which we talked about, and Loop Spaces and how cool that looks. The real-time translation transcription. But this is the one. If you go up to the top of Teams, there's a search bar. And if you do a /, you have all of these shortcuts here. If you are looking at chat, inside a chat up at the top, if you hit the little down triangle, you can filter by name. So you can say, only show me chats that include this person. If you are inside of a team and you are looking for chat, by going up to search, you can hit Control F to search for a message in your current channel, or you can hit the filter glass and you can filter by team or channel. You can also filter by just show me read, unread, and all of that there. So this is super useful in having this. And if you go up to the top search bar and hit that /, you'll see all of these shortcuts. So that's a few things that you can do there to make it better. And our search now is much more powerful across. Is there something you're not seeing in search that you would like to see when you're looking for something?
So, I was thinking about description specifically. So that's how people will know, for example, in our
Got
case,
it.
we will have in a law firm, we'll have the matter number or the attorney in charge, and people will look at the description to
Right.
find that information.
Yeah,
because
and
matter-
normally, yeah, and normally when you start a new channel, that should be right up at the top and pinned. Hi, this is what this team is about, and that should be part of
Yeah.
creating that. Not everybody does that, and that's the problem. So you get invited to a team, and that now is part of that email when you get invited. It says, here's the name of the team. This is what this team is about. But there isn't a way to easily search that and say, show me all teams from marketing, because there could be so many. And do you only want marketing teams in marketing or marketing teams across the whole company? If I type in Teams marketing, I could end up with hundreds of teams across engineering, marketing, legal, et cetera, and not see all the ones or only the ones that I have access to. So doing that could be difficult, but it is good hygiene when you create the teams to set up a template that says these are the apps that are embedded. You have to have a description. You have to have all of this to create a team and to standardize that. And that will make it much better. And then, of course, that also now goes into the SharePoint site that you're creating at the same time. So you have both sides of that, because whenever you create a team, you're also creating a SharePoint site. So does that help?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
Basically, what I'm trying to do is add metadata to those teams. And,
Yeah, and
that would be
the
maybe a very
metadata,
simple
yeah.
way.
Absolutely. And the metadata is there, but I agree, being able to do a more deeper metadata search would be a great thing. So yeah, I'll pass that on to engineering. I'll take it as a note, and it would be interesting. Yeah, go ahead. You raised your hand.
Yeah, can you expand more on that? Pick 5 words to describe the team you were talking about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Somebody created a Power App. It's not something that we have. It's not built into Teams. They got a third-party company and said, we want to standardize teams. So what we're going to do is when you want to create a new team, rather than you being able to do it, it launches a Power App. And that Power App says, hi, what's your name? And what is the team that you want to create? And out of these 15 words, pick 5 words that best describe your team. And they pick the 5 words. On the next screen, it will say, here are all of the teams that currently have all 5 of these words as part of their description. Click here to email it to
That's
yourself.
my question. How's that
Yeah.
retrieved?
It would basically, you would set that up ahead of time on 15 words that all teams should be including. So that's set up ahead of time, and that way you're forcing people to pick from it. So it's basically like a form where you could say pick up to 5.
That's not my question. Are you querying a separate table to get that mapping? How is that retrieval done when it's looking for the teams that have one of those 5 words?
When the team is created, they attach those 5 terms to it. So that's why. So then it creates a SQL table that has that in it. So whenever they create a team, it says, here's the 5 words that best describe that team. And then they can pull that up and do that from there. So that's a SQL table attached to the Power App that they're using to be able to bring that forward. It's not native in Teams though. I see what you're getting at. Yeah. Yeah. But it was super smart the way that they did it. The problem with doing metadata is it has to be standardized because everybody puts in their own version. Somebody's going to do Microsoft Teams, MS Teams, M Teams, and you've got 5 versions of the same thing and trying to standardize. Putting in an area, even if you do that, then you've got to start doing drop downs and pull downs, and not everybody wants to do that. So this right now is the best solution, but I agree in the future some things will change. And as we look at our next iteration of Teams, we may look at more of that as we move to the Electron platform and move from the current platform that we're at. And that's something we've announced that we're working on the next version of Teams. It'll be on the same platform as the consumer platform currently is. So it'll run faster and lighter and thinner, but there's a lot more things we can do with the new design platform that we can't do with the current one. So that's one of the reasons we'll be bringing that to life in the next year or so. Cool. Any other questions? If not, give you guys a little bit of time back and a break, and you're welcome to reach out to me, and I'll put my.
I was going to ask about Channels 2.0. Is that like a template for the channel front page or something that you can just put a header in, or kind of like how they have SharePoint pages, you know?
Well, you can. There are templates that you can set up that whenever you create a SharePoint, a SharePoint page, it automatically mimics that, and you have back and forth templates. But what this does is it moves any new chat all the way up to the top, allows you to add a background and a design that will be shared then with SharePoint. So that's the large part of it. So if I go to a channel, what's great is I'll see start a new post at the top, and I'll have announcements there. So here I'll show you. Let me pick a team that doesn't have any confidential information in it, and I'll share you live because I have it here on my machine. So hang on. So let's do this. So I'll go to share, and I'll do a full screen share here. Let's get rid of that. And I'll go here to Teams. Here we go. So you can see up here now at the top, start a new post is not at the bottom, it's at the top. And I can start either a post or I can do an announcement. If I have an announcement, I can add a graphic to that. So I could say, yes, I'd like a graphic as part of that headline. And it's going to allow me to upload a graphic. I can pick colors for whatever I would like this area to be here. I can add a subheading. I can drop in graph elements or column elements, things like that. I can automatically attach files. I can add, make this approvals. I can drop in Adobe. I can drop in a stream link. I can do all of these, or even add any one of the additional plugins, a survey, an update, praise, create a form, etc. Post. And again, this is an announcement, or I can change it to just a post. So this is a big part of that. We'll also see now, for example, view conversations. So rather than seeing all of the posts, I'm only seeing the most current. If I do view conversations, then I move into the whole thing and I see all 27 responses and threads to that. So it starts to clean this up and make it a lot easier for me to see this as kind of a series of topics and everything included in that topic, and an ability to be able to do and create something new and be at the top and be there. And if I'm an admin for that group, I can actually pin that to the top of the channel until someone else who's an admin for that group either unpins it or pins something different. So that's the first thing that everybody will see when they get in. So that's part of Channels 2.0. There's some other features coming, but that's really at the whole of it to make it easier to be able to see, communicate, and optimize for what is important at that moment.
Okay, thank you.
Does that? Yeah, good. Awesome. Glad that answered the question. These are great questions, so I appreciate everybody asking them. So this is awesome. Any other questions on features, functionality in Teams, things you're seeing, not seeing, wondering when it's going to be coming out, something that doesn't make sense on how to use it, best practices, anything else? If not, like I said, we'll give you about 10 minutes back.
One last
Yeah.
question.
Go ahead, Joel.
Kind of deep, kind of unrelated, but related at the same time. If you're talking to somebody who's looking at using Teams for communication, so you're talking about corp comms, their head's spinning a little bit because they're looking at company communicator, they're looking at Viva Amplify, and they're looking at say a Teams team that is like a company-wide one.
Yeah.
What would you say is the recommendation today? Would you say look at Amplify, or would you say keep going on a project where you've already got started with company communicator? Do they all kind of work together, or do you feel like with what we know today, you would kind of send people down a certain path if they're trying to reach the company through Teams?
I think it depends on how you're doing things. And you know what? That actually brings up something interesting, because this also goes into, should it have been an email or should it be something that we're putting in one of these? So let me share this. This is a slide that I showed a lot of conferences, and folks love it because I think it brings a lot of information together. And then I'll answer your question in a little more depth, Joel. Let me bring this up. Hang on. And let's go to this slide. So what's interesting is right now, and this is also in response to, hi, when is Outlook going to get merged into Teams? And my answer is this: if you're asking that, you're not using either one of these products to its fullest capabilities. We currently have 4 generations of workers working in the workplace. It's the first time in all of history that we've had 4 generations of workers. We have baby boomers making up about 4% of the workforce. Born on a desktop, 486 turbo button, desktop apps, everything saved on the device. Gen X, myself, 38%, first generation with laptops, although we had to use PCMCIA cards to get wireless. Again, though, desktop app, everything on the device. When we move to millennials, this is now 40%, and this is the first generation born in the cloud. All they need is a browser, and that's it. They're used to working in browser-based apps. Nothing is on the device. Everything is there. Like I said, all they need is just a browser to work. And when you take a look at the newest generation, Gen Z, they don't see a difference between a laptop and a phone. It's just a way to get to your stuff in the cloud. And they are faster and even more capable on a phone than most of us are on a laptop. So what's interesting is you have almost 60% of your workforce on nothing but a browser and doing everything in the cloud. And what goes with that is chat. They use chat as their primary form of communication. And these are the people who are the least expensive to hire, are making the biggest impact and change, and you want to be able to keep. Well, you have 42% of the folks using email. What's interesting is there was a great thing in IDC a few months ago that said, do you know how often Gen Z checks their email? And it's once to twice a day. So if you're trying to send stuff out via email, that's not going to work so good. Why? Well, average response time for an email is between 3 to 7 hours. But on average, it's about 3 hours and 38 minutes. Average time for a chat response is 4 to 7 minutes. And with the chat, it's, hey, I have a question on this. Great, let me bring in Joel and Jeffrey and Junie on this. And you all discuss for a few minutes, you answer, and then you move on. That's done. In 7 minutes, we've resolved that issue. With an email, you're going to send it. I'm going to check at 5. I'll respond. You'll check it the next day. This could go on for 4 or 5 days. So the way that people are working is very, very different. I think my favorite phrase that I heard from someone is, email is how you tell me there's donuts in the break room, but it's not how I get work done. And it's not. Email is great for something company-wide. We're going to be changing XYZ policy. We're going to be doing this that affects the company. But anything that pertains to a project should be inside that team. And here's why. If you think about it, if Jeannie's on her way into work and something happens and she gets sick and they have to hire somebody to come in for 2 weeks to fill in, we could say everything you need is in that team. Every recording, every transcript, every document, every file. You should be able to get up to speed on that project in a few hours. But if you've got to say, well, we got to send you a bunch of emails and send you to this share drive and go do this, forget it. the information is everywhere. You also now have no true governance over that data. So that's the first thing we're seeing is we are seeing dramatic reductions in email and what was email and what is now happening in Teams. And it's funny because I chat with a lot of CEOs and folks that are sitting around tables from Volkswagen and Lego and you name it, big companies. And we hear, you know, we got off of Skype for Business, we moved to Teams, and they're just using it for chat and calling. They're not using it for collaboration. I'm like, okay, how did you set up adoption? Did you find out how your users were currently working today? Did you bring in a change management expert? Did you set up superheroes and champions for each of your different departments? Did you do surveys on what does not work well or what's taking too long within your company that could be set up as automated processes? And they look at me like, no. And I'm like, that's why. If you give somebody a tool and you don't tell them how to use it, they're going to use it however they see fit or the way that they were using it previously. You haven't really changed policies, and that has to start at the top. If your own CEO is not getting on calls, if that CEO is not putting things into chat, then it's going to be hard for the company and it's going to be split. And you're going to find, and this is the other part of it, is that younger generation, they want to be able to work from anywhere on any device and do it securely. Shouldn't matter if they're on a Mac, on an iPad, working from a Starbucks, home, in the office. It should be ubiquitous content, everything. I'm on a Surface Studio now. I have a MacBook that I'm going to be working on a little bit later, and I may need something on my phone. And everything I'm doing, right down to my desktop, being synchronized across all of those is identical. If I make a change on one device, as soon as I log into the other, it's there. So I think to answer...
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. So let me...
Yeah.
Right. So let me just finish. I think it depends on where your company's at on what the best tool to use is. And that's really at the bottom of it. If you're really seeing great success in Viva, you're going to say, hey, here's how we're going to start to do this. It may be through Communicator. You've got to figure out what is going to impact the most people. And for the folks who aren't there, what's going to drive them over? Because you have 15% of users who are first in the deep end, love everything. And you got 15% who are never, ever going to change. And your goal is you should work with that middle 70 that are saying, oh, I like Teams, but, and work with them to move them over to whatever that process is, because they'll drag that angry 15% over in time. But I think it has to be on what makes the best sense for the majority. And if you want to make that change to say, hey, we're going to start doing this here, but you've got to explain why and why this is going to be better and understand why some folks might not want to change, to start to standardize that. So it's looking at those. So I don't think that there's kind of a standard best practice, but I think there are best practices to step back and figure out what makes the most sense based on our workers and where we want to be and where people are expecting that content to be. And if we're going to change it, to give good reason on why you're going to change this, what the benefit is to the end users and what they're going to gather from it. And that will very often point to the newer Viva platforms, but you can't just change and expect everybody to jump over. So I think that's my answer to that one is it depends on how open your group is to change and where you're at within that adoption process.
Yeah. And just real brief response. Our users are in Slack and Teams.
Right.
And they're not using the intranet. So we're trying to bring the intranet into Teams and Slack. So with that, the feature request, or what we're really trying to do is bootstrap company communicator so we can push the content into Teams.
Right.
And as well, build whatever we've got to push it into Slack. Understanding that's not what we're here to talk about. But that ability to make things portable is really what we're trying to get. It's like getting people where they live is absolutely the right answer, the right direction of let's bring it to them on their terms. Yeah, there's going to be an email.
Bring it to them on their terms. Right. And explain why you're making the change. Here's what we've heard. Here's how we think we can solve this and make this better. We want your feedback. Think of it like somebody with a back problem. You're going to have an ergonomic specialist look at their desk and figure out where their pain is. Oh, it's in your legs. Okay, well, we want to do this and this. All right, here's a new thing coming from the company. From now on, everybody's going to get an ergonomic chair and or desk. Then you send out a thing that says, here's how you're going to use this and get it set up. And then someone will stop by 2 weeks later. How's it going? Are you feeling better and checking out? Great. Yeah, it's much better. And it's going to be exactly the same thing. You're going to go through that same change management process. Understand the pain, how this will solve it, because it's going to take a little bit. You got to set up your desk and figure out where everything is good. It's going to take time to do that change. But the long term is a better, healthier back and me being able to work more And this will be a better, easier form of communication that will allow me to get more done and start to standardize. So it's that same process as you would do with the physical one. So, but I think it's a great question, Joel. Thank you.
Can I
Awesome.
follow up on that a little bit?
Yeah, please.
Well, what you're talking about mostly is internal communications, because you have the chat channel, and you might have, but when you're dealing, like we do a lot with external customers, we don't necessarily have the ability to do chat with them. We're doing email mostly, phone calls.
Why not?
So, well, that's what you can address. How would that be done easier with external?
Well, let me
clients?
ask you why you're not using chat, because you can chat with anybody that has a Teams account anywhere on the planet. They don't have to have Teams. It can be done inside the browser. It can be done, along that line. You can add a Teams private channel if there's people that you're working with. So you could be doing everything through Teams. Teams even has a walkie-talkie feature, which you could use to talk to your folks out in the field. So when you're working with customers, the best thing is after that first meeting, say, hey, I'm going to set up a team for us where all the documents are going to be stored and do this. All you got to do is download the app. You don't even have to have a Microsoft account or be paying for Teams, and we can communicate there. We can share files there. We can do everything that we're working on. So everything that we're doing together is there. And that could easily be done. And no one else, if you set it up as a shared channel, no one else can access it internally or externally from that. So you could have one team called customers, and then there are channels for each customer, and each one is unique with whoever needs to communicate with the customer, and they can see everything they're doing and track it. All the meetings you're doing are recorded. There's transcripts. Hi, here's the new form we need you to sign or whatever. Everything's done there. And what's great is if you bring in someone new and you add them to that channel, they're able to see the whole history with that customer.
That's great. Yeah, I like that. But some of our people are still on SharePoint on premises or, not using Office 365. So I guess they're out of luck with them. And other people
Right,
who are using.
no, but they don't. Here's the thing. They don't need to have any of that. You can invite somebody to a Teams share channel from a Gmail address. They can use Teams through a browser, or they can download the app. They don't have to have a license to collaborate with you. As long as you have the license, it's fine. It's not like the old days where you had to bring somebody in and give them a license and do all that. As long as you're an Azure AD, you can say, I could send 3 invites out to, I did this with Atlassian. So I did a thing with Jira, because Jira's integrated into Teams. So I said, okay, I'm going to start a new channel. There were 3 of us on the Microsoft side, 4 folks from Atlassian. I sent them invites. They downloaded Teams. They logged in with their Atlassian, and we worked inside that channel. We dropped documents, but they couldn't download anything locally or save it. We did our calls. So all the call recordings are there, all of our chats for the campaign. And when it was done, we just deleted it. It was that easy.
Okay, Stephen, I think the answer is we gotta hire one of those people in the millennial or Gen Z.
Yes.
That's how we're gonna get this done.
Yeah, but it's not difficult, but it is somebody coming in, looking at your process and saying, hey, yes, you can do this. And then creating training for those people that you're bringing in, which may be, hey, watch this 10-minute video on how we're now going to work in teams together. Things like
We
that.
have to have their agreement of the other side to do that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a real good case to be made for a cooperative project with external customer to do it in the way you're describing.
So
Absolutely.
on that
And
note,
think
we
of it-
talk about the channel, though.
Yeah.
I mean, when we're done with, say, a project with a customer.
Yeah.
Have everything in that channel. Can we archive that channel? as
Yeah,
opposed
you
to
can
delete it?
archive it and save it for 5 years, and you kick them out of it, you archive it, so everything is there, every conversation, but they can't access it. And if you're using Azure Information Protection, any documents you may have let them have at that point, they would go to access and would say, I'm sorry, you don't have access to this anymore, unless it wasn't encrypted or you chose not to. So all of that is there. You can renew it or add or remove people from it as you start to do it. What's great is if they have Teams loaded up, the app locally on their phone, when you send them a text chat, it'll automatically show up. It's a really great way of doing that and bringing that together.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's great. Work for installations. How about support? I guess you could do it for
Yeah.
support, have some virtual meetings, maybe Teams Premium would work well for support, opening up a live interaction with their desktop, do a support call through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and you could use GoToAssist or things like that, or just have them open it up. And yeah, there's a lot of things that you can do there, but it really becomes a great way. And people are used to, I'm going to launch an app and I'm going to chat with somebody and they're going to see me and I'm going to see them and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, it's not uncommon for folks, and something, folks are used to jumping on a Zoom call and doing this. Now we're saying it's Zoom, but we're also going to not just do calls, but we'll do recordings and documents and sharing and chat, and everything will be in one place. So you'll know exactly who you're working with. And yeah, you can even set up a template that when you go to do it, it's pretty standardized with company logo and all that sort of stuff and instructions on what the next steps are.
Cool, all right, thanks, yeah, that's.
Did I
that's a
just
great
hear you
idea.
can archive at the channel level?
Yes, you can archive the channel. Whoever is the admin or whoever created the team can do it, or admin IT can do it. You can say to admin, hi, we need to archive this channel, and it will say archived. Yep. Awesome. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Joel. Thanks for your time today, everybody. This was great. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up. Joel, Jeff, everybody knows how to get a hold of me, so happy to do it. Thank you. Awesome. Great to see everybody, and take care. We'll see you all soon.
Thanks, Stephen.
Thanks, Steven.
Have a good one. You're all very welcome. Thank you.